Hello students, today we are going to discuss about specific heat capacity in this class, and also we will discuss about calorimetry. So first of all, to discuss about specific heat capacity, first I define what is heat capacity. In order to define heat capacity, uh, we should observe some facts. I am taking a vessel 1 like this, and I am taking vessel 2, and I am taking another vessel 3. Uh, Three vessels. I am taking three vessels. Suppose water is there in the first vessel. Water is there in the first vessel. And same water is there in the second vessel. Vessel number 1 and vessel number 2. Consider this as vessel number 3. Okay. And water is there in the, sorry, wait a minute. Okay. Okay. Wait. Right. 1 liter of water or 1 kg of water is there in the first vessel, and 1 liter of water is there in the second vessel, and take 2 liters of water in the third vessel. I'm taking 2 liters of water in the third vessel. So see here, I am going to supply heat energy to this one. Heat energy supplied to first vessel. Suppose I take a stopwatch and also take a stopwatch. Let us take the reading on the stopwatch. Consider the temperature is raised by 20 degrees Celsius. Temperature is raised by 20 degrees Celsius. We are supplying heat energy to the water so that the temperature of water inside the vessel increases, and note the time taken to raise the temperature by 20 degrees Celsius. Consider the time taken to raise the temperature of water by 20 degrees Celsius is, let us consider it is about 10 minutes. And in second case, same amount of water is taken, 1 liter of water is taken, but here I am keep on supplying heat energy, that is heat is being supplied to the water by the same source as in the case of first vessel, but in this case the temperature of water is raised by 40 degrees Celsius. That means the temperature difference in the first case is 20 degrees Celsius, and the temperature difference in the second case is up to 40 degrees Celsius. I am supplying heat energy from the same source, and we have taken same amount of water in the first two vessels, and now the temperature difference is about 40 degrees Celsius. That is double of first case. So in this case, I used stopwatch to measure the amount of time taken to increase the temperature by 40 degrees Celsius. In this case, the time taken will be more in this case, because here the temperature raised is up to 40 degrees Celsius, but here temperature raised by only 20 degrees Celsius. So the time taken would be double as that in first case. Consider the time taken would be 20 minutes. And now I have taken 2 liters of water. The amount of water is different. I am keeping this vessel on the same heat source. Heat energy being supplied to the vessel. And again, I am starting the stopwatch again to observe the amount of time taken to increase the temperature by 20 degrees Celsius. to increase the temperature by 20 degrees Celsius in this case. As we know, the amount of temperature difference in first case and third case is same, but amount of water in the first case is 2 liters, but in the third case the amount of water is 2 liters. First case is 1 liter, third case is 2 liters. So here the amount of water is more, so the time taken also will be more in this third case. So the time taken would be around 20 minutes. That means the amount of heat energy supplied depends on change in temperature. The amount of heat energy supplied also depends on amount of substance taken inside the vessel. And also I am taking the fourth case here. In fourth case I am taking another vessel, and I am taking different material, not water. I am taking different material. Consider it as oil, mustard oil. I am taking here not water. Here it is water, and here it is also water. And in this third case also water is taken in the vessel. But in the fourth case, we let us consider we have taken mustard oil instead of water, but same amount of oil is taken in this fourth case. Same amount of oil, 1 liter of oil is taken, and I am keeping this vessel on the heat source, on the same heat source, and I am noting down the time taken by the stopwatch to reach the temperature by 20 degrees Celsius. Here the temperature difference, I am raising the temperature by 20 degrees Celsius. So in this case the amount of time taken would be less in this case. That means the amount of heat energy that we need to supply to raise the temperature by 20 degrees Celsius, if the substance is changed to mustard oil, let the time taken in this case for 1 liter of mustard oil to raise its temperature by 20 degrees Celsius, let us consider the amount of time taken. In this case, the amount of time taken would be less. So that means the amount of heat energy supplied to the mustard oil also will be less in this case. So that is, in this case, let it take around 8 or 7 minutes. So here the amount of heat energy supplied, I am concluding all these 3 points. The amount of heat energy supplied depends on first case the temperature raised by 20 degrees Celsius. In the second case the temperature raised is raised by 40 degrees Celsius. So amount of time taken are different in first 2 cases. That means the amount of heat energy supplied to the system depends on time taken. That means the amount of heat energy supplied to the system depends on temperature change in temperature, and the amount of heat energy supplied also depends on amount of substance. And in fourth case, the amount of heat energy supplied to the system depends on nature of the material also. So here I am concluding the amount of heat energy, heat energy supplied depends on first one is change in temperature of the substance, change in temperature of the substance, and second observation is the amount of heat energy supplied depends on the amount of substance, and third observation is it also depends on nature of the substance, the nature of the material inside the vessel, nature of the substance. So Here I am going to define heat capacity first. Heat capacity. Heat capacity is nothing but amount of heat energy. Sorry, amount of heat energy required. Heat energy required to raise the temperature by by 1 unit or 1 Celsius degree. So here heat capacity C is equal to amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature by 1 unit. If temperature difference, that is, no need to by heart this definition. If delta T equal to 1 Celsius degree, then C is equal to delta Q by 1. That means if delta T is equal to 1, if the rise in the temperature, if the change in the temperature is 1 degree Celsius, then heat capacity C is equal to simply delta Q. Delta Q is nothing but heat energy supplied. Heat supplied or heat rejected. Heat supplied or heat rejected. So simply C is equal to delta Q. Delta Q is nothing but amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature by how much? 1 Celsius degree is called as heat capacity. Okay. Now I am going to discuss about a specific heat capacity. That means the amount of substance is also specific in this case. That means if amount of mass is more, if amount of substance is more, the amount of heat energy required will be more. If amount of mass is less, the amount of heat required will be less. So in order to avoid dependence of heat capacity on mass, we are going to define heat capacity per unit mass. So I am going to define specific, that is specific amount of mass, specific heat capacity. So the definition of specific heat capacity would be like this. Heat capacity per unit mass. Heat capacity per unit mass. That is, I am fixing the mass to unit mass. That means either 1 gram or 1 kg. Okay. Now specific heat capacity S is equal to heat capacity per unit mass. Unit mass is nothing but M. So here C is nothing but what? Delta Q by delta T divided by EM. So simply specific heat capacity S is equal to delta Q by M delta T. Now I am going to define specific heat capacity in terms of mass and rise in temperature. Now if M is equal to 1, M equal to 1 means unit mass per unit mass. If the rise in temperature, if delta T is equal to 1 Celsius degree, that is unit rise in temperature, unit change in temperature or unit rise in temperature. So if M equal to 1, delta T equal to 1, so in this case S would be delta Q by M equal to 1 kg or 1 gram. Delta T is also equal to 1 unit. So in this case, how can you define specific heat capacity? Specific heat capacity S is equal to simply delta Q. So the definition of specific heat capacity is delta Q is nothing but what? Amount of heat energy required. The amount of heat energy required per unit mass substance to raise its temperature, by 1 unit or 1 Celsius degree is called specific heat capacity, is called specific heat capacity. So this is the definition of specific heat capacity. Now the SI system of units for specific heat capacity are the specific heat capacity S equal to, we know, delta Q by M delta T. For delta Q is nothing but amount of heat energy. Heat energy units are joules. Per mass is nothing but for mass the units are kg in SI system of units. For delta T the SI system of units are either Celsius degree, or we also can write like this, joules per kg per Kelvin, are the SI system of units for specific heat capacity. So this is in the case of solids and liquids also, sometimes liquids also. But in the case of gases, we measure the amount of substance in terms of moles. It would be more convenient to measure the amount of substance of gas in terms of moles, not in terms of kilograms or grams. So now, in the case of gases, we define specific heat capacity as molar specific heat capacity, because the amount of substance in this case would be moles, not kilograms or grams. So molar specific heat capacity, we define molar specific heat capacity. Here the molar specific heat capacity can be defined as, see here in above definition, the amount of substance is in the case either in grams or kilograms, but in this case the amount of substance will be in moles. So I am defining, see it carefully, the amount of heat energy, the amount of heat energy required, the amount of heat energy required per 1 mole of substance. Unit mass is nothing but, here we are defining 1 mole, not 1 gram or 1 kg. Per 1 mole of, or unit mole of substance, for 1 mole of substance, to raise its temperature, by 1 Celsius degree is called molar specific heat capacity. So now the molar specific heat capacity is equal to simply delta Q divided by, instead of mass we take number of moles, mu, into delta T, where delta Q is nothing but heat energy required, and mu is nothing but amount of substance, that is the number of moles. If number of moles equal to 1 and change in temperature equal to 1, the molar specific heat capacity can be defined as simply amount of heat energy required for 1 mole of substance to raise its temperature by 1 degree Celsius. So delta T is nothing but change in temperature. We know it, change in temperature. So, but in case of gases, when we are supplying heat energy to the system, we must keep either pressure as constant or volume as constant. So we are going to define molar specific heat capacity by keeping pressure of the gas constant, and in another time we are going to supply heat energy to the system by keeping volume as constant. So now I am going to define molar specific heat capacity at constant pressure. Molar specific heat capacity, at constant pressure. So now molar specific heat capacity at constant pressure is nothing but simply same as the above definition, but just add at constant pressure. So the amount of heat energy required, heat energy supplied or required, heat energy required per 1 mole of gas, 1 mole of gas or substance to raise its temperature, by 1 Celsius degree at constant pressure. By keeping the pressure of the gas constant, we need to supply the heat energy, in this case for 1 mole of substance to raise its temperature by 1 Celsius degree is called as molar specific heat capacity at constant volume. Let us indicate this molar specific heat capacity with C. So this would be Cp. Cp is nothing but molar specific heat capacity at constant volume. Cp equal to delta Q by mu delta T at constant pressure. This is the definition of molar heat specific heat capacity at constant pressure. Now I am going to define molar specific heat capacity at constant volume. Cv is nothing but molar specific heat capacity at constant volume. In this case, the amount of heat energy required, I don't think no need to write again, but I am writing the amount of heat energy required, energy supplied or required per 1 mole of gas or substance to raise its temperature, by 1 Celsius degree at a constant volume. Just change the term as constant volume. So Cv is equal to amount of heat energy required per 1 mole of substance to raise its temperature through 1 Celsius degree at constant volume is called as Cv. Now I am going to explain the different specific heat capacity for different materials. I am taking a snapshot from textbook. Okay, so see here, right. Okay, so observe first one here. For the case of aluminum, the specific heat capacity is 900 joule per kg per Kelvin. And in the case of carbon, the specific heat capacity of carbon is 506 joule per kg per Kelvin. For copper, 386 only. For lead, 127. For silver, 236. For tungsten, 134. For water, it is 4186. So among all these substances, for example, take water, 1 kg of water to raise its temperature by 1 Kelvin or 1 Celsius degree, the amount of heat energy required is how much? 4186 joules. To raise the temperature of water, 1 kg of water by 1 Kelvin, the amount of heat energy is very much large as compared to all above materials. Okay, in the case of aluminum, that's why the temperature of water, to raise the temperature by 1 Kelvin or 1 Celsius degree, the amount of heat energy we need to supply is how much? Nearly 4200 joules. So the water will be heated up very slowly, or the water will lose the heat energy very slowly. Okay, that's why the land will be heated up quickly as compared to water, because the specific heat capacity of land is less. So desert areas will be heated up very quickly as compared to water, and they lose the temperature, they lose the heat energy and dropping the temperature very quickly, so that in night times they will feel very cold in desert areas. So now I am taking two materials such as aluminum and copper. For the case of aluminum, for aluminum I am taking aluminum. For 1 kg of aluminum, to raise its temperature through 1 unit, the amount of heat energy required in this case is how much? 900 joules. But in the case of copper, for 1 kg of copper, to raise its temperature by 1 unit, the amount of heat energy would be how much for copper? It is about 386 joules only. So, to raise the temperature raising is same in both the cases. The amount of substance is same in both the cases. Which one will be heated up quickly? Which substance will require less amount of heat energy? Copper requires less amount of heat energy as compared to aluminum. That's why we prefer copper bowls instead of aluminum bowls to cook, because copper takes less amount of heat energy to raise the temperature by 1 degree Celsius. That's why the cooking bowls will be coated with copper at the bottom, because their specific heat capacity is less. For silver, the specific heat capacity is how much? For silver, for 1 kg of silver, to raise its temperature by 1 Kelvin, the amount of heat energy required is how much? 236 joules only. But silver is costlier than copper. That's why we don't prefer silver. Instead of buying silver vessels, we can waste our money to spend on gas cylinders. Okay, so because it is very expensive to buy silver vessels instead of aluminum or copper, right? So that's why the aluminum vessels, under the aluminum vessels, copper coating will be there, because for copper the specific heat capacity is less as compared to aluminum. Now I'm going to define I'm going to discuss one more topic here in this class: calorimetry. We know calories are the units of energy, heat energy. Calories are the units of energy. Metry means measurement. So calorimetry is nothing but what? Measurement of heat energy. Calorimetry is the measurement of heat energy. So see here, when I am taking a system, this system is isolated from the surroundings. Consider these are nothing but surroundings. The system under observation is called as the object under observation is called as system. So consider this is a system. This system is insulated from the surroundings. That means no amount of heat energy exchanges between system and surroundings. This system has two parts now. Consider this is the system, and other than system is nothing but surroundings. Now the system has two parts like this. Consider this is part 1 and this is part 2, and this is part 2. Consider this part 1 is at high temperature, part 2 is at low temperature. Consider this system is at high temperature, T2 is greater than T1. So consider there is a interconnection between part 1 and part 2, these two bodies, these two parts. So the heat energy flows from hot body to cold body. Now in this case, heat energy, there is no exchange of heat energy between system and surroundings. There is a exchange of heat energy between heat energy, heat energy will be exchanged, heat energy exchanges between hotter and colder bodies, hotter and colder bodies. That means hotter body loses heat energy, hotter body loses heat energy, and colder body gains heat energy. This will take place until both acquire same temperature, until both acquire thermal equilibrium. Colder body gains heat energy. So in this case, no exchange of heat energy between system and surroundings. So finally, I am going to conclude that heat lost by hot body, heat lost by hot body is equal to heat gained by colder part, heat gained by colder body or colder part of the system. So amount of heat energy, we know the sign convention, heat lost by hot body is nothing, heat lost is nothing but negative, that is equal to heat gained by colder body, heat gained by colder body, heat gain is nothing but positive. So this is the principle of calorimetry. Heat lost by hot body equal to heat gained by colder body is nothing but principle of calorimetry. So, principle of, this is the principle of calorimetry. Okay. Now I am going to define about calorimeter here. Calorimeter. Calorimeter is nothing but a device used to measure. It is a device used to measure heat energy. The device used to measure heat energy is called as calorimeter. So here calorimeter consists of a metallic body, and this metallic body is being surrounded by isolating material, insulation material. This insulated material, either it would be wood or glass or wool, etc. Insulating material. So there is no exchange of heat energy between system and surroundings. So here we have a stirrer of same material, that is made up of vessel and stirrer made up of same material, and also there is an arrangement, there is a gap to keep the thermometer into the vessel. So here, right, like this. So this is nothing but thermometer to record the temperature inside the vessel, and this is nothing but stirrer to stir the contents inside. This is a metal body. Stirrer is also made up of same metal, and these two this metal body is being surrounded by the insulation material. This insulating material avoids the exchange of heat energy between system and surroundings. So we can explain this working of calorimeter with example here. So I am going to explain the example number 12.3. 12.3. So by explaining this example, you will get a clear idea on calorimetry and calorimeter, the principle of calorimeter. And now here I am noting down the given quantities. A sphere of aluminum of 0.047 kg. Mass of aluminum is equal to how much? 0.047 kilograms. Is placed for sufficient time in a vessel containing boiling water. This sphere of aluminum is kept inside the boiling water so that the sphere is at 100 degrees Celsius. So initial temperature of sphere is equal to, for sphere the initial temperature is how much? 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, fine. It is then immediately transferred to 0.14 kg copper calorimeter containing 0.25 kg of water at 20 degrees Celsius. So here copper calorimeter and water both are at same temperature. So I am taking mass of the copper calorimeter. Mass of copper calorimeter equal to 0.14 kg and initial temperature of copper calorimeter is equal to how much? 20 degrees Celsius only. And initial amount of water is how much? For water, mass of water is equal to 0.25 kg. Initially both copper calorimeter and water are at 20 degrees Celsius. So initial temperature of water is equal to 20 degrees Celsius. So the temperature of water rises and attains a steady state at 23 degrees Celsius. Calculate the specific heat capacity of aluminum. So now let us take this is a copper vessel, copper calorimeter. This is being surrounded by insulating material such as wood, and inside this copper material there is a water of 0.25 kg. As water and copper both are at same temperature. Initially they are at 20 degrees Celsius. Now initially the aluminum sphere of mass 0.04 kg is placed for sufficient time in a vessel containing boiling water. Initially the aluminum sphere is in boiling water. This is nothing but boiling water. So there is a aluminum vessel inside the boiling water. So initial temperature of aluminum sphere is equal to 100 degrees Celsius. So now I am keeping now the temperature of water. See here, a sphere of aluminum of 0.047 kg is placed for sufficient time in a vessel containing boiling water so that the sphere is at 100 degrees Celsius. It is then immediately transferred to copper calorimeter that is containing water at 20 degrees Celsius. So now this is being transferred to copper calorimeter which is having water inside. So which one lose heat energy? Aluminum sphere loses heat energy because initially it is at high temperature. And who will gain heat energy? Water will gain heat energy, as well as copper also will gain heat energy, because copper and water initially at low temperature, that is at 20 degrees Celsius. So now it is clear. Heat lost by, who is losing heat? Heat lost by aluminum sphere is equal to, who is gaining this heat energy? Heat gained by, who is gaining? Copper calorimeter and water. Copper calorimeter and water. We know from specific heat capacity S is nothing but delta Q by M delta T. So from here on cross multiplying this, we will get delta Q is equal to M delta T, MS delta T, MS delta T, MS delta T. Delta Q is equal to MS delta T. So heat lost by aluminum equal to heat gained by copper plus heat gained by water. So heat lost by aluminum sphere is equal to heat gained by copper plus heat gained by water. We know these both are gaining heat energy, so sign convention is positive, and aluminum sphere is losing heat energy. So change in heat energy would be negative here because aluminum is losing heat energy. And aluminum sphere water calorimeter, the heat energy will be lost by sphere and gained by water and copper up to thermal equilibrium attains. That final thermal equilibrium temperature, steady state temperature is nothing but equilibrium temperature. That is final temperature of aluminum sphere, water and copper calorimeter is equal to 23 degrees Celsius. So now delta Q is nothing but MS delta T minus MS delta T, this is for aluminum, is equal to delta Q of copper is nothing but MS delta T for copper plus MS delta T for water. MS delta T for water. We know we need to find out what? Calculate the specific heat capacity of aluminum. So here minus mass of aluminum. Mass of aluminum is given by 0.047 kg into, we don't know specific heat capacity of aluminum, S is written same, and delta T is nothing but final temperature minus initial temperature. Final temperature of aluminum is equal to how much? 23 degrees Celsius. Initial temperature is of aluminum is how much? 100 degrees Celsius. So delta T is nothing but final minus initial, which is equal to mass of copper into specific heat of copper. Mass of copper is how much? He has given as 0.14 kg. 0.14 into specific heat capacity of copper. We have discussed already specific heat capacity of copper calorimeter is nothing but 386 joules per kg per Kelvin into change in temperature of water. Change in temperature of copper. Final temperature of copper is 23 minus initial temperature is 20. So for copper it is written. For aluminum it is written. Now what is left? Amount of heat energy required for water. That is amount of water is nothing but mass of water is how much? 0.25 kilograms into specific heat capacity of water is equal to 4186 joules per kg per Kelvin into change in temperature of water. For water, the final temperature, equilibrium temperature is 23 and initial temperature is 20. So 23 minus 20 again. Okay. So by calculating this, everything is known. Everything is known. What is unknown thing here? The unknown thing is specific heat capacity of aluminum. So by solving this using a calculator, you will get specific heat capacity of aluminum, which is equal to around 900 joules per kg per Kelvin. You will get this answer by solving this above expression. So this is the application of calorimeter. Have a nice day, students. Thank you. Bye bye.